I've been in business specializing in sales and marketing since 1980. I'm an executive coach, an international trainer and speaker, an author, a TV show host, husband, and father. Like many, I've experienced a freak accident and almost died from it. The impact from a hit to the back of my head dissected an artery in my brain, and a few days later, I had a significant cerebellar stroke. Since my stroke, I've been researching and seeking answers to many of the questions that come to light when you live through a traumatic event like this. I'll share what I've learned about living full out, how to prosper in difficult times. We'll talk about some current events, and always end with some inspiration and encouragement that you just might need at this particular moment. This is Scott Schilling Speaks. Scott Schilling Speaks is powered by Be Connected, the premier online hub for business owners and professionals to connect and collaborate for greater success. To learn how Be Connected will help you and your business, go to bkfreefor3.com. Hi, and welcome to Scott Schilling Speaks. I'm Scott Schilling. Great to have you here today. Going to be a great show. I would take out a pad of paper and a pen because I know there's going to be some nuggets in here you're going to want to see and review later on. Great guest today. Dr.Eric Nepute is flown in here to share some amazing health tips with you. It is that time of year that people are starting to consider becoming healthy again. So, Eric, thanks for joining me here today on Scott Schilling Speaks.
Scott, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm so excited to share with your audience, and I just love what you do, so let's get into this, man.
Well, that's exactly it. You know, we talked about being formal about this and then said, yeah, no, let's get rid of that.
That's
let's just have some fun. So give everybody a little background. Your CV is so impressive. Give them a little background on
Okay.
why you're the qualified expert.
When people say, who are you? Well, here's who I am. I'm the son of a pig farmer from Central Illinois, right? I mean, that's who I am. I love to help people. That's what I do. It just so happens that health in the human body has been something that I've always been excited about. So, you know, I was going, just like you, football player, played college football, going through college, going to be an orthopedic surgeon. That's what I wanted to do. And I'm going through school. I got accepted to Northwestern Medical School. My mom and dad were so excited. This was when ER was really hitting the charts, and my mom's telling everybody he's going to be the next George Clooney. Well, that didn't work out for multiple reasons, but I remember the day like it was yesterday. I'm playing in a football game in college. I had a brachial plexus injury. Most people know them as a stinger. You tackle somebody, your arm gets a little numb and tingly. That would happen off and on for years. I didn't know any better. Well, I had a hit that I had given to a running back. My arm went numb, my leg went numb. They thought I broke my neck. They thought I was paralyzed. I remember days later speaking to the team surgeons who were my best friends, and they said, listen, there's nothing that we can do for you. We hope that it gets better. Your football career is over. You'll be lucky to play with your children and pick them up when you get older. Don't even think about stepping on another football field. I was devastated. I mean, you could imagine my whole life that I knew was all about sports and athletics, and that's what I wanted to do and be. A friend of mine's father was a chiropractor, and he called me and said, hey, Eric, I want you to come see me. I think I can help you. And I said, what do you mean? You're a chiropractor. You're not a real doctor. What do you know? You know, I'm from a small town, right? And I didn't even know this guy's name. His name was Mark. We just called him Doc, by the way. I went to see him, and Scott, after 3 visits, I could move my arm again. I was back in the gym bench pressing over 350 pounds 2 weeks later, and my life was changed forever. And God did that. God put that in my life so that I could see that there's other ways. So I remember the day when I told my parents, said, listen, I'm going to not go straight to medical school. I'm going to go check out this chiropractic thing first. And man, we almost didn't talk for 3 months because they said, you'll never help anybody. You're not going to be a real doctor. Who are you to do this stuff? And so I got into chiropractic. Chiropractic made sense to me. And answering the question why. You know, why do we have these problems? Not just treat the symptoms, but go after the cause. Then I got really heavy into neurology. I got a fellowship in functional neurology. I've got over 2,700 hours of nutritional training. I now have 12 of my own practices. My systems are in 30 different offices across the country. I've trained hundreds of doctors across the country on how to help people get healthy and how to help healthy people stay healthy. And it's just a blessing. I've been in the healthcare system deep. I own and operate 2 surgical centers. We try to keep people out of them, but I do have that. I'm in the hospital system. I'm in the laboratory world as well. I own a nutritional company. I'm deep into healthcare, my friend.
That's awesome. Funny story. I mean, you're so heavily credentialed. It's awesome. But I was the anti-chiropractor.
Sure.
Until the pain got so great. You know, when the pain was shooting down my leg, that I couldn't sleep at night. I could sleep on my other side, sure. And when I couldn't press down the gas pedal, I could kind of touch it with my other foot. But when I couldn't carry my golf bag, that was it. I had to go see anybody, and so that's when I went to my first chiropractor. But it was funny. He said, "I know I'm going to want you here more than once a week." I said, "No, my insurance pays once a week. Right. I'm only showing up once."
Right.
Did the first adjustment, was still radiating sciatica.
Right.
Second week, still radiating sciatica. Third week, popped it. Bam, pain was gone. I said, "You want to see me on Wednesday?"
Yeah, that's right.
So you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
Until you know it,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of chiropractic. And as we were talking earlier, really, if we could get everybody to understand that the only thing that heals the body is the body, or more importantly, the only thing that heals the body is the power that built the body.
Right, right.
Just think how things would change.
You're totally right. And in my offices, we've created a different system. So we have chiropractors, medical doctors, nurse practitioners, physical therapists, psychiatrists, pediatricians, nutritionists, all working under one roof to help find the cause of your problem. See, there's something that we say, and it's physiology doesn't lie. We test, we don't guess. So when you come into our offices, it's not just lay down, we're gonna walk on your back and hopefully something gets better. We're literally measuring your structure and your alignment. I mean, just like a car, if a car is out of alignment, that's gonna cause a problem with the vehicle. We measure that. We measure nerve and brain function. I measure that on every patient that comes in our office, because if the brain's out of balance, the body's out of balance. And then we measure chemistry. And I'll tell you what, that's one of my favorite things to do. I love drawing blood on patients and finding out what's deficient, what they're toxic in. It's so cool to be able to say, these are the foods you should eat and the foods you should avoid. And most people don't really know, what they should or shouldn't be doing. They think that, well, broccoli and carrots are good for me. They may be good for you, but not for me. And so to find the cause of the problem is really amazing. We've been able to bless literally millions of people all across the world of really understanding what health really is and helping them achieve that. So it's a blessing.
Yeah. Well, it's fascinating. We can go in so many different directions here, but I think you said something that's really important there. Most people don't understand what's right for them.
Right.
We're all individuals, and yet we tend to throw a family diet at the rest of the members of our family.
Yeah.
So you can actually tell an individual what they need to power themselves.
Well, it goes back, yes, absolutely. It all goes back to the whole idea of physiology doesn't lie. Every individual is uniquely different. There could be 100 people in a room that have the same symptoms, but it could be 100 different causes. So I always tell folks that stress is the number one cause of all sickness and disease. But stress is more than just, my wife, my husband, my kids, my spouse, all this stuff. Stress is about physical, chemical, and nutritional. And so we can actually measure within just such a short amount of time to find out what vitamins, minerals, and nutrients you're deficient in. You see the standard American diet, which is SAD if you look at it, standard American diet, leads to the standard American lifestyle, which is obesity, hypertension, high cholesterol, diabetes, sickness, disease, only living to 70, what is our life expectancy, 78.5 right now or something like that? I mean, that's not truly living life. I was promised 120 years, and I'm going to have my boots on and be rocking when I'm 120. So you have to do the right things, but if you don't know what to do, you can't do it. And that's one of the things I love is doctor is Latin for teacher. Our job is to teach, reach, and inspire and motivate as many people as we can to first understand what health is and then teach them how to achieve it. And Scott, now, especially more than ever, we're getting, like you said, that time where people are starting to care more about their health. Well, we have a mutual friend that you and I were talking about before the program, and he said, he does polls of people, tens of millions of people. And the last really 10 years, when he would ask them what's their top 3 goals, 10% or less would say health. Well, now when we get into the world we live in now, over 80% of the United States population says health is one of my top 3 goals. But if health is your top 3 goals, but you don't know what health really is, how can you achieve it, right? And no offense to anybody out there. I know you guys are turning to your doctors and your nutritionalists and all that stuff, but we got to look at what's real. And if I ask somebody, what's the leading cause of death in the world, most people would say heart disease. 650,000 Americans die a year from heart disease. Number 2 is cancer. 560,000 Americans die from cancer every year. But the third leading cause of death is called iatrogenic death. 375,000 people die from properly prescribed medications, surgeries that go wrong, hospital accidents, injuries that happen when you go to the doctor. That's the third leading cause of death. And so, how do I say this politely? The people who got us into these problems can't be the people that get us out of these problems. We need to look a little outside the box to gain true knowledge of what health is, and then the wisdom of applying that to your life.
Well, I think the one thing that obviously living through a pandemic, which I'm pretty sure nobody had game planned for 2020.
No.
And all of a sudden we came there. To me, I think actually God put us in timeout. He said, go back to your room and I just want you to think about it for a little bit. I want you to treat people nicer, do a lot of those different things. But I think one of the things that's coming out of it is people are recognizing health because their routines are no longer routine.
Yeah.
Everything has changed up so dramatically.
Yeah.
And now we didn't used to probably walk enough or do enough stuff before, and now we're sheltered in place. Well, in place probably isn't a great place to get fit. Is that true?
You are so correct, it's not even funny. I mean, Scott, first of all, 2020, I believe, has been a blessing in disguise in many ways, and please hear me out on this. 2020 is a year of vision. It's a year of clarity. It's a year of going, hold on, we got caught with our pants down, proverbially. What do I mean by that? We have so many people, 2/3 of our country are truly sick, dealing with chronic disease, obesity, hypertension, diabetes, high cholesterol, all this stuff, which is lifestyle-mediated disease. We've known since the 1980s. I know many of you probably don't remember the 80s, but remember the Surgeon General C. Everett Koop, the guy with the nice chin-strap beard? They did a 4-year exhaustive study and found out that heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and even stroke, 86% of it could be prevented by lifestyle change and proper nutritional supplementation. So what we're doing now is we're educating the masses on what health really is. And so you're right, sheltering in place is not a great thing because the average person is gaining 5 to 10 to 15 pounds not being outside. That leads to obesity, which is one of the comorbidities of COVID-19. That also leads to hypertension. That also leads to these other issues that we know is a problem. And one of the main things, and I really want to hit this home because this is a Holy Spirit-led thing for me, and I just have to talk about this. When you're inside, we're not outside. What's outside? The sun. The study after study after study has shown that if vitamin D levels are low in individuals, that you have a higher risk, number one, of infection of COVID-19, number 2, of severity of COVID-19, and number 3, of fatality of COVID-19. So let me give you a couple studies on that just so you guys can see this.
Sure.
There was a study that was done in Spain recently. And what they did, this is a really interesting study. They took 2 groups of people, and what they did, these were people that were diagnosed with COVID, clinically diagnosed. They also had pneumonia on x-ray. And what they did was they took 2 groups. They said, all right, we're going to give everybody the medication, and the medication at the time was hydroxychloroquine and Z-Pak. They gave it to that one group. The other group got the same hydroxychloroquine, Z-Pak, but then they got high-dose vitamin D. Now listen to this. The group that got the high-dose vitamin D, that group only had a 2% chance of going from the hospital to the ICU, 2%. They had a 0% chance of fatality. The group that didn't get the vitamin D had a 50% chance of going from the hospital to the ICU, and had an 8% fatality rate. That's huge. And they gave them 20,000 IUs for the original day of vitamin D. This is in the hospital, 10,000 IUs a day. The average person in 7 days, gone. Now listen to this second study. This one gives me goosebumps. 586 individuals were studied in a hospital setting. It was a clinical setting. What they did was they found out people who had had their vitamin D levels tested a year prior to COVID-19 coming to America.
Right.
What they found is that people who had normal levels, adequate levels of blood levels of vitamin D3, which, by the way, needs to be above 30. We really want it to be between a 60 and a 120, but 30 is the clinical range of acceptable.
Right.
They found those people, Scott, that had the adequate levels of D3 had a 77% less chance of becoming infected with COVID-19. Now, come on. If we're living in a world where we're trying to reduce infection rates, reduce hospitalizations, reduce deaths, give people some stuff to really stand on, we need to be talking about that. And I don't know if you saw this, but just a couple days ago, the British Prime Minister said in England, we are going to give away 2.5 million prescriptions of vitamin D3 to our countrymen and women. It's going to be subsidized by the government. We're going to give it to them because we know that's one of the major things that can lower the risk of infection, the risk of hospitalization, ICUs, ventilations, and death. That's huge.
It's information. That's why I enjoy doing the show. because it's information like this that has to get out for people to at least consider.
Yes.
The reality is we're not getting the information out to people, at least for choice, right? I mean, you've got a choice to take it or not take it once you know about it.
Right.
But that's, again, something like this where you're sharing this data. This isn't like something you've made up.
No.
This is highly documented that, in fact, we all have a path that could improve our health going forward.
Just 2 days ago, the Journal of Nature released a study. And what they did was they went back and they studied the blood levels on individuals that died of COVID-19. 9 out of 10 people that died of COVID-19 were deficient in vitamin D. And again, if God gave us free will, and in America we still have the freedom to choose, you need this information. Whatever you do with it is up to you, but you need that information. There's a difference between knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge is, you heard something. Wisdom is applying it to your life. So I'm going to tell you something. We actually reached out to, because I'm sure you know this, I'm pretty heavy in politics in Missouri, and I've traveled all over the country, and we've educated senators and congressmen and women and governors and cabinet members, and it's been an interesting journey, especially for a little pig farmer from Central Illinois. Let me tell you that. But we positioned a proposition to all of the government and the legislature says, well, they're doing this in the UK, they're doing this in China, they're giving away supplements. We need to be able to subsidize this. They said, listen, that's a pipe dream. We're not going to do that. We're already so heavily vested in the pharmaceuticals and all this other stuff. We don't have really any more money to give. So myself and a bunch of other individuals, through some churches, through some donations, through our companies, we said we're going to give away 1 million bottles of vitamin D3 to Americans, and that's what we've been doing. Because people need to have that. They need to have that opportunity. So we wanted to be able to reach out and go, here, out of our abundance, take some vitamin D. At least give yourself an opportunity, because we know that vitamin D, number one, what it does, it stops something called an ACE2 inhibitor. ACE2 receptor stops viruses from getting inside the cell. We know that for a fact. Journal of Pathogen 2003 tells us that. Then we also are giving them zinc. And why do they should be doing zinc? We know that zinc, but the thing with zinc is zinc has to get inside the cell. Zinc stops, 2005, 2010, Journal of Pathogen tells us that zinc stops viral proliferation, which means regrowing, viral load. It doesn't allow it to repopulate if you take adequate amounts of zinc. And so the key is that you need to have between 20 and 50 milligrams a day of zinc taken with food. And the average American, according to Dr. Michael Hollick, who's the world leading researcher when it comes to vitamin D, says between 5,000 and 10,000 international units a day of vitamin D3. So we've got this funny thing called, if you go to the website, it's freevitamindeal.com. I mean, you couldn't get any simpler than that. It's a free vitamin deal. So freevitamindeal.com, we're giving them 1 million bottles of vitamin D away and 1 million bottles of zinc. And all people have to do is pay shipping, handling. That's all. We just couldn't get that covered. Everything else is covered. But I think that's a pretty awesome thing.
That is an awesome thing. I mean, I think that I'm impressed with you a variety of ways, quite frankly. I mean,
I'm humbled by that.
Everything CV and everything you've accomplished to date. But again, I think it's one of the things that, you know, when you're committed to doing good works in the world, the one thing that you realize is you can't do them if you're dead.
Amen.
Last time I checked, right?
Yeah, I would agree.
And so, again, it was a big thing as I came through my stroke and everything that happened to me is coming back and saying, okay, God, what would you have me do at this point? How would you have me help share the message or use the talents and capabilities you've granted me to be able to share, meet people, share the messages, things like that. Similar to what you're doing. I'm not trying to suggest I'm doing what you're doing, but I'm doing with my knowledge base what I can do.
Yeah.
I love the fact that you're doing with your knowledge base and everything what you can do.
You know, my mom, who is my biggest hero, and I'm gonna try not to cry, but she really is my biggest hero, is the biggest fighter I've ever met, and that's where I get my energy from. And she, you know, she taught me about Jesus and God a long time ago, and my mom said, if you have the ability to do something, you have the responsibility to do it. And that's really where we're at. You know,
say that again. That's pretty simple.
Let me just say that again. If you have the ability to do something, you have the responsibility to do it. And I'm looking around in the world right now saying, what do people need? We need more happiness, we need more love, we need more joy, but we need more free will. We need more freedom to choose. We need to have more faith and facts so we can get rid of fear. You know, fear is false evidence appearing real. You know that. And how do we get over the fear? With facts and with faith. I mean, but most people don't know. Like those studies, those 3 studies that I talked about, those are just 3 of literally 30, 40, 50 that I could cite right now about zinc and D3 and all that. The problem is that most people aren't talking about that. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But the reality of it is that if we know and we get an opportunity to choose, and we get an opportunity to see the truth and really take that knowledge and apply it to our life, boy, it's freeing. I mean, I've had over 250,000 Americans that we know of use our protocol. 250,000. Wow. And out of those, I can tell you less than a handful that we know of that got uber sick and went to the hospital. Now, I want to share something with you if I can that I've never shared publicly, even on my own podcast or my sites. I just feel really led to share it with you because I just feel comfortable. About 9 years ago, first of all, I still have an amazing life, but I had the most amazing, simplest life that it was amazing. I'd go to work Monday through Thursday. Every Thursday night, I'd drive down, I'd meet my family down at our lake house. And I had one son at the time and my wife, and it was just so beautiful. I'd wake up every Friday morning, I have Friday, Saturday, we do church and come home on Sunday, and I would repeat that. It was just a great, great life. And I was really in heavy prayer one day on my way down my 2.5-hour drive, and I just felt this like stirring inside me, this big stirring. And I went to sleep that night, and I had a dream, a vision, whatever you call it. It was real to me. I died and went to heaven. When I got there, there's Jesus, and there's Peter at the pearly gates. And I mean, you can see I got goosebumps talking about this. And they said, well, you're in. You know, you did what we asked you to do. You accepted me as your Lord and Savior. You followed our commandments. You did this stuff, but I want to show you something. Oh, man, Scott, this is so powerful to me. Jesus says, I want you to turn around. I want you to take a look at that. You turned around, and there were millions of people. Millions, Scott. And Jesus said, I want to tell you something. You're in. But we gave you a gift to change the lives of all those millions of people, and you squandered it because you wanted to be at your lake house every weekend. Whew, that hit me. I woke up that morning, and I told my wife, I said, listen, I said, we got to open up more practice. We got to teach more people. I got to study more. I got to be able to, I need to have the knowledge within me so that whenever I get an opportunity to share with people, it can come out like that, because you know, opportunity and preparedness are the keys to being able to positively influence individuals to go, hey, maybe I ought to check that out. And so that's what led me to where I am today. I'm just the son of a pig farmer. That's all that I am, man. I'm a guy that's got a lot of knowledge because I'm like you. I may not be, not that you're not smart, because you're extremely smart. But I never claim to be the smartest guy in the room. Right. But I'm going to tell you right now, nobody will outwork me with what I do. Nobody knows the data and research and stuff of all these things like I do, because it is my mission. I am not going back to the pearly gates and not be able to turn around and see all those millions of people that I helped happy and that we helped them. I don't ever want to have that feeling again.
Yeah, I totally respect that and understand it completely. It's one of those things, it goes back to those who are granted much have great responsibility, right? You have the opportunity to share the information and to take it in a new direction and help people. People think that helping people is hard sometimes. And it's really not.
It's not.
It's simply asking a question. You know, when people say, Scott, what is it that you do? You do a variety of different things. And I said, the short answer is I help people help people.
Yeah.
Really, it's not about me. It's about them, what they need, where their desires are, which is why I'm honored to have you on the show here today, because while I haven't gone through all the medical education and everything you do,
right,
I have lived long enough to understand the value of what you're doing and that the value of getting that message out.
Yeah.
That has to be done, and that is something I can do.
Yeah.
So again, I'm honored that you're here. Tell us a little bit about Wellness Warrior, what you're doing there.
So Wellness Warrior is, first of all, it's our nutritional product line, but it's also our mantra and way of life. I mean, people always look at this and go, what are you, a Michigan State fan? Is that Sparty on there? No offense to any Michigan State fans, but no, I'm not. I was walking through an airport in Cincinnati not too long ago, and it was Columbus, and I thought I was going to get tackled because there's so many Ohio State fans there. They wanted to get me. I said, no, so here's the idea behind Wellness Warrior. You know, it goes back to the Spartan warriors. And if you remember the 300 versus the 300,000 or the 3 million, it's the little versus the lot, right? And that's kind of how I've always seen most people, right?
Right.
And that's how I've always seen our healthcare system, my healthcare system. See, people think that when you talk about healthcare, first of all, it's what we're trying to do is put health and care back together with Wellness Warrior, because right now there's just not as much of it as there should be.
Right.
And so the whole idea is we want to help be able to empower people. And you think about those Spartan warriors, what were they? They had wisdom and knowledge. They were well educated. They were well fed. They were well taught on how to be a warrior. And it was more than just being physically fit and big, right? It was strategic. It was tactic. It was, what do you eat? When do you eat it? I mean, all these things. And by the way, what a warrior is not afraid when the world comes crumbling down around him. Because a warrior has the word to stand on. A warrior has wisdom to stand on, and a warrior has good leadership to stand on. And so Wellness Warrior was something that I originally created out of frustration. So I told you my office started out at St. Louis, Missouri, and it's wellness centers. So we're all about getting people well, finding out how can we help people with whatever symptoms and conditions you've got. I don't really care about your symptoms. I want to know the cause of the problem. Right. And that really started that whole mindset of the little versus the big, right? But I got so frustrated that we would have people that would test low on vitamin D on a blood test, low on zinc, low on B vitamins, low on C, and I would give them a report and say, here, go get some nutrition. They would go get nutrition at the local nutrition store, buy it online, and then they would come back 3 months later, I'd retest their levels, and I go, there's nothing different. Are you taking your products? So literally out of frustration, I used to have more hair than you, and I started pulling all my hair out and said, I've got to figure out a way to formulate products that I know will work. Yeah. So my Wellness Warrior products are doctor formulated. We've tested them all on hundreds of thousands of before and after blood tests. Missouri is the show me state, so I got to show me how it's going to work. And so that's what Wellness Warrior really came out of. And then it's really evolved. We have a program called our Metabolic Reset program. And see, people look at it and they go, well, that's a weight loss program, because we actually on the cover of the Wellness Warrior site and the Reset site, we have a couple on there, and they've lost 400 pounds between the two of them. Wow. But it's not a weight loss program. It's a metabolic reset. It detoxifies your body. It helps your body repair the damaged tissue. See, you don't need to lose weight to get healthy. You need to get healthy to lose weight. Yeah. And if obesity is, now listen to this, this is huge. If obesity is the #1 cause of Parkinson's, dementia, Alzheimer's, inflammatory conditions of pain, heart disease, cancer, diabetes, stroke, the list goes on and on and on, and it's the #1 risk factor for viral infections, including COVID-19, we've got to go after that. That's the root. And so Wellness Warrior has developed a nutritional product line. We've developed a way of thinking, a way of life, an educational process. That freevitamindeal.com that I'm giving everybody, not am I only just giving them vitamins, but I created it's a 7-series class that I normally sell for $350 on how to think well, move well, breathe well, de-stress, and you'll be well. We're giving that to everybody because I want to give people a roadmap. I mean, I look at, when I buy a new phone or I buy a new, I was talking to my son the other day, we bought a what is it? It's an Xbox kind of a thing. I'm an Atari guy, Nintendo. I haven't played since it's been a minute. But he's like, Dad, I want to try this out because my friends are doing this game. And I thought, okay, cool. It came with an instruction manual so we could figure it out. The human body doesn't come with an instruction manual. Right. Boy, it'd be nice if we could give people one. So that's what Wellness Warrior does. I want to empower you. I want to be able to give you, to make you your own doctor. Hippocrates, the father of medicine, said, let thy food be thy medicine and let thy medicine be thy food. He also said, first seek knowledge of the spine and all other issues will go away. And he also said, doctor, heal thyself. But you got to know how to be your own physician. And so we teach Wellness Warrior as an educational and a motivational, inspirational, nutritional company, as well as a way of life. And that's what we're trying to do. And there's some new and exciting things that are coming down the road with Wellness Warrior. I mean, obviously we're getting national recognition now because we've said, no, we're going to put our money where our mouth is. Again, we're in Missouri, it's the show me state. So the governor, Governor of Missouri is a good friend of mine, uses our products, by the way. Awesome guy. I said, hey, we're going to give away 1 million vitamins. Can I get some? So, nice. I said, you got to go to the website and get them, Governor, but you can. So it's just exciting just to be in a position to help people because that's really, Scott, what it's all about. You said something earlier that really resonates with me. What do you do? Well, we help people. When people ask me, oh, you're a doctor, what kind are you? I'm the kind that helps people. Yeah. It's just that simple, and don't overcomplicate it.
Well, I think it's a great point. So often we get lost in trying to figure things out. I want to lose weight. No, actually, if you lose it, you typically find it again.
That's exactly right.
So I mean, languaging is a big thing for me. Like I was doing an interview yesterday and somebody said, so every time I've run into you, you're so positive. And they said, how do you do it? And I said, well, one of the ways I do it is with words.
Yeah.
I said, I'm either positive, something in my life is either positive or less than positive. And they said, well, it's not the N word? And I said, no. Why would I ever even say that word? It's positive or less than positive.
Yeah.
And either, so when I look to right size is my body should be at perfect height and weight. I mean, that's the way we were designed.
Sure.
God had it figured out pretty
right.
well. We should be at equilibrium, perfect height and weight.
Yeah.
And if you're not, dis-ease has crept in somewhere. Dis-ease becomes disease.
Yeah.
It's either emotional, chemical, or physical stress in some way, or a combination of all three. Now, we got a beautiful set here right against the North Dallas Tollway.
Yeah.
That prior to COVID, a lot of that stress came because there were a lot more cars running up and down the tollway.
Sure.
Now we've gotten away from a little bit of that, and I think that's where, again, we can look at 2020 as a year of a whole lot of less than positive things, or we could look at it and say, you know what, I realized not being stuck in a car, not being stuck in traffic, is a whole lot better than being stuck in traffic.
Amen.
Right? And so let's get rid of that stress. And wow, all of a sudden other things become more joyful in our life, right?
You're totally right. And you know, I mean, you said so many great things right there. It's not even funny. One of the things I want to hit on, I really want to drive home to the listeners, is what health is. You know, the Greek word for balance is ease, right? E-A-S-E. Well, when we're in balance, we're in ease. We're at ease. Like, you know, when someone says that guy's at ease, you know that's a relaxed, balanced, healthy homeostasis in the body. Dis-ease is when you get out of balance, physically, chemically, or emotionally. We talked about the three T's, what I call them. Negative thoughts cause stress, which is autosuggestion. That's why I don't like to use that less than positive word either. I love that because we are snared by the words of our mouth, right? Then you've got traumas, physical stresses, years of wear and tear, like you and I both beat our bodies up playing sports, right? Then we've got toxins. We live in such a toxic world. So if we started looking at removing toxins the best we can, getting our traumas balanced out the best we can physically, and not being snared by the words of our mouth, oh, you want to talk about true power of healing? That helps us get out of that disease state, get us back into dis-ease, which ultimately can get us back into ease. That's such a powerful thing. But we really don't think about that as much as we should because most doctors aren't talking about, I mean, we live in a world right now where, and I hate to say this, but it's the truth. Some states will tell us that between 2 to 3 to 4 times the increase of suicides right now, increase of drug and alcohol abuse right now, increase of overdoses right now. And a lot of those are because of the less than positive emotions and thoughts that we put in our mind. And I tell you, I think it's important to get knowledge. It's important to look at all things. It's important to, you know, but you got to guard your mind. And some of the things that we listen to, I mean, the whole idea of having a 24-hour news cycle that's emergency, 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 that's not okay for the brain. You got to guard your brain because everything that happens here, how many of you right now listening have been emotionally stressed out? Let me ask you this. Where do you feel that in your body when you're emotionally stressed out? You see, emotions manifest as physical problems. Emotions manifest as chemical imbalances in the body. And people know this. When you get emotionally stressed, what do most people do? They go for that comfort food. They feel good temporarily, but then they wake up the next day, my belly hurts, my back hurts. They wonder why their neck's bad, they're fatigued, all this stuff, because they have the imbalance of too many negative thoughts, too many traumas, too many toxins in their body, and they don't have enough people to educate them. Their doctors aren't educating them enough. Some are, but aren't educating them enough on how to remove that interference from the body, because it's just like you said at the beginning of the program, the body doesn't need any help. It just needs no interference. A good doctor's job is to remove the interference from the body and then give it the right nutrients and education that it needs to heal, and miracles can happen every day from that.
Well, wow, what a powerful statement. The body doesn't need any help. It just needs to get rid of the interference. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a light bulb moment, right? And again, the only thing that heals the body is the power that built the body. And so if we then fuel the body properly, we put the right things in, it will operate better. It's just like you put high test in a Ferrari, you don't put in ethanol and watch the engine burn up.
You're right. You're totally right. You're 100% right.
So I think another part of this is, because I want to get back to it, you mentioned fear earlier, and a lot of people use the acronym in a variety of ways, but one of the things that I teach consistently is that there's 2 words that share the same definition.
Okay.
And that's fear, belief in the unseen, assurance of the unknown. It hasn't happened. I haven't seen it, but for whatever reason, I believe it will happen, and it's going to be in the less than positive delivery of that.
Yeah.
So I become fearful of it.
Yeah.
But that's also the definition for faith. Belief in the unseen, assurance of the unknown. It hasn't happened, but I'm sure that it will positively. And as I was sharing with Jack Canfield last week in the show here, he said, Scott, in order to drop into fear, which so many people are in this year, that we have to leave the present and we have to move into an imagined future that's less than positive.
Yeah.
And yet, and when that hit, it resonated with me, but I got to thinking about it just before the show, believe it or not, that faith is also leaving the present, but it's going into that imagined future of positive outcome.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just think, if we can imagine that future of positive outcomes with our health repeatedly, what would you do if you felt better? What would you do because of beating up portions of my body through 5 sports when I was younger and things like that?
Sure.
I haven't been able to play golf in a number of years now.
Right.
And you know what? At one time, I felt like I was going on to the senior tour.
Sure. Sure.
I felt like that was my path.
Yeah.
Now, hopefully that me getting hurt wasn't the reason for not doing that.
Yeah, sure.
But the fact is, how many things could you imagine in your future that would be positive for you to take that step of faith to understand what you're saying here, taking some action on the vitamin D3, taking some action on some of these other nutrients, just getting yourself in a more receptive way physically?
Well, first of all, we need more people less sick, right? I mean, that's what we need. And so much of that is that neuro-emotional component. We have freedom to choose. You get to choose if you want to be positive or the opposite of that, right? You get to choose that, and everybody really does get to choose it. And I don't know if you've looked at any of the work that's been done in neuropsychology recently, but we all know about the placebo effect, right? We know that we give you a sugar pill, it could help you with 50% of the problems could go away with your sugar pill because you believe in that. There's also the nocebo effect. The nocebo effect says if you don't think it's going to work, it won't. If you don't think you can, you can't. And by the way, thoughts create emotions. Thoughts create things. Thoughts change our cellular structure and our function. There's been study after study after study that has proven that. So if our body's made up of 80 to 90% water, the work that Sato has done and Homoto, all those guys have done in Japan, shows that our positivity changes that. And we can change our cellular structure, detoxify ourselves. The work that Bruce Lipton has done has shown that. I mean, all these guys that are out there and girls that are out there doing great, amazing work. See, that goes back to the whole idea of why we're here talking today. It's to expand the capacity of people's thinking, because once a mind is expanded, it can never contract again, ever. So that's why I love sitting down and I love the opportunity of sitting down with people that are in a fear-based mentality. Because I know if we can have a conversation within literally a couple minutes of really true and having a dialogue. And that's what we need, is dialogues, not a monologue of you need to do this, you're bad for that, take this or not. A dialogue of helping educate, inspire, and motivate. Usually that fear can go away like that, because we can give facts and we can give faith. And what does that do? That shifts the consciousness of that individual towards positive, away from that opposite, right? And you want to talk about true healing? That's where true healing comes from. Yes, doing vitamins and nutrients are so important, because I believe it's one of the easiest things to control. I mean, you can easily go right now and get some vitamin D and some zinc and some vitamin C, and we know to eat better, we know that, but it's harder for folks to change that neuro-emotional connection because we're so used to just beating ourselves up. I'm going to tell you right now, if most people's friends talk to them the way they talk to themselves they wouldn't even be friends anymore. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. For whatever reason, so many people have I just got to beat myself up, otherwise I'm not going to feel good mentality. And it's like, well, after you beat yourself up, how can you feel good? I mean, my goodness, what did I just miss there? Right?
How's that working out for people?
How's that working? That was so one of that just popped into my mind. One of my coaching clients one day was just like railing, and it's just not fair. And I said, and And he goes, and what? And I said, and?
Yeah.
And he goes, like you're wondering what I'm going to do about it.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And I said, it's your choice to stay in the situation or leave that situation.
Yep. Free will.
And so it's absolutely amazing. The other thing is, you were talking about Dr. Emoto's work in the hidden messages of water. I suggest if you have not gotten the book, if you have not ever looked at Dr. Emoto's work in the hidden messages of water, please go get that book. It will blow your mind, and the power of the words that we share, and again, you just don't understand until you do.
Right.
Words are tremendously powerful. The quality of your life is the quality of your communication. How do you share things with people? What do you say to people?
Yeah.
It's funny, somebody said to me, or a lot of times I'll, my answer to anything when somebody says, how are you doing? You only get that how many times a day, right?
Yeah.
A lot. Well, my answer is the same and has been for years. Fabulous.
Sure.
And I'll get better.
Yeah. I love that.
And that's what it does.
That's it.
See,
that is what it does.
it's a pattern disruptor.
That's it.
And what happens is all of a sudden the pattern, and somebody says, well, can you get, they lose where they were in their world for that moment,
right.
because then the next thing becomes, you mean there's something better than fabulous? Oh, there's lots of things better than fabulous. Yeah. And all of a sudden you get into a different conversation, you get into a different place. What Cheryl Lynn's doing with her joy movement, I mean, you got to check this out. It's the joy chair. I mean, check that out for sure. Cheryl Lynn, check it out. It's awesome. It's about talking about joy.
Yeah.
Now, if we talk about joy, what happens to us? You're the doc. Tell me what happens if we are talking about joy.
It's really straightforward. What happens when we talk about joy, happiness, love, gratitude, literally neurotransmitters like serotonin, noradrenaline, all these start firing, dopamine, all start firing. And when these are low, that leads to anxiety, depression, insomnia, sadness, all this horrible stuff. When we talk about joy, happiness, forgiveness, faithfulness, all these things, those levels of neurotransmitters rise and our brain starts to fire up like a giant, just beautiful pictures of just sparks and excitement, and we feel good. And by the way, what happens is that raises our consciousness, our energy level rises. And you know what that does? That unconsciously gives every man, woman, and child around us the permission to let theirs rise as well. It is just the domino effect that happens when we start speaking positive, feeling joy, feeling love, feeling gratitude, saying things like, when I got asked this morning by my Uber driver, how are you doing today? I said, blessed and highly favored, how are you today? She goes, well. And then all of a sudden an amazing conversation started. So that's what happens. But again, if you don't know that simple technique, just what we talked about in the last minute is so powerful that if our viewers that are watching right now, if your viewers are watching, would put that into play, they would see their lives start to change instantaneously. And I know you would agree with that.
Oh, absolutely. I realized that I learned it from Zig Ziglar.
Yeah.
Because when you're around Zig and you'd say, Zig, how you doing? He'd go, better than good.
Yep, I remember that.
And so I couldn't say better than good, and I didn't want to steal his text.
Yeah.
So I had to come up with my own, which was fabulous. And I'll get better. But what's so amazing about it is when you start to change state like that, when you lift people up, when you get them to smile, when you do that, a whole lot of things physiologically change.
Of course they do.
Right? So then, am I a doctor too then?
Did you stay at Holiday Inn Select last night?
Yes, I did.
Then you are. That's fine.
Okay, I'm official now.
You know, I teach like at my offices. I teach my team, like when they answer the phone. I say, smile before you answer that phone. I even put a little post-it on their smile, and they're like, that's so silly. But when you smile, that gives that just inflection in your tone. That just gives that little spark of love. And then you know what? That's infectious, man. And that's the infection that we need to spread rampantly throughout this country is love, joy, peace, happiness, and faith. I mean, we spread that, we're good.
Let's take that one step further. Let's go physical and physiology.
Yeah.
Right? Serotonin, most people do not realize, number one, our happiness hormone, right? But where is it created?
In the gut. There's a
Wait.
Yeah.
So my happiness is created in my gut.
That's right. And by the way, ladies, my wife will tell you, well, I knew that forever. Women have the best intuition. Trust these women. I'm so blessed to have my wife in my life. She goes, I got a gut feeling about that person. There's something in your gut called the enteropathic nervous system. It is the brain-gut connection. We know that most of our neurotransmitters are connected and created in our gut and stored in our brain. See, we're focusing on what's this for brain health, take this for that. No, 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 no. First fix the gut. Even Hippocrates said that, the founder of medicine, the gut, the gut, the gut. But what happens is if we have our standard American diet, we eat processed carbohydrated foods, too much sugars, which the average American, I don't know if your viewers know this, the average American consumes 140 pounds of sugar per year. Look it up. That's crazy. Jeez. That kills our gut. If you eat bad, you feel bad. I had a lady yesterday, I did a consultation with her, and she was telling me about her fibromyalgia, her lupus, and all this stuff. She goes, you know what I've noticed? When I eat better, I feel better. I said, could you say that one more time? She goes, when I eat better, I feel better? Well, here's your prescription. And I wrote it down on a pad. Eat better, you'll feel better. And she goes, really? I said, that's it. But see, we can actually measure the gut. We can do blood tests. We can do a breath test. We can do stool samples to see what's out of balance. And then we can give it the right nutrients. And by the way, D's important, zinc's important, butyric acid, all these other things are important for the gut. Probiotics are good, but our standard American diet, and then, Scott, stress. Yeah. Stress, increased stress drives cortisol levels up. When cortisol goes up, our insulin goes up. When insulin goes up, our gut bacteria shrinks in our body. Our immune system gets compromised because of that, and we feel sad because of that. We can't have happiness unless we have the right bacteria in the gut. So you're spot on with all that.
That's absolutely amazing to think through, and I'm sure I didn't know it until I did.
Right.
Until I learned it. You know, it's one of those kind of things. You don't know what you don't know until you know it.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And so that's why, again, I so appreciate you being here and being able to share this information with everybody, because health isn't any one thing.
Right.
It's a lot of little things put together, right?
100%. I mean, health is a balance. Like if you think about, if you look at your logo, it's a triangle. If I were to look here and go, a third of this, so if this was 100% health, that triangle right there, and a third of it's physical balance, a third of it's chemical balance, and a third of it's emotional balance, 100% of that together is health. And if all you do to look at your health is go to a doctor that just looks at your physical health, you're missing 2/3 of the problem. If you only look at the emotional, or if you only look at the chemical, you're missing so many opportunities to get health. So that's why you've got to surround yourself with people that can help you I call it as a wellness wheel, where they can look at you physically, chemically, neuroemotionally, and help you find out where you're out of balance, where you're not in ease, and then give you some simple, natural, safe, and effective therapeutics and treatments to get your body back to balance. But here's the one thing that most people don't want to hear. A good doctor's job is to first find out what your goals are, second to find out where your health is, and then to bridge the gap between the two. We're going to give you the map, the keys, and the car, but you still got to drive that thing. We can't do it for them. And that's the thing. Once we shift from, we somewhere along the way, we lost personal responsibility for our health. We said, well, either this insurance card's going to fix me or this drug will fix me. That's not true. That's not worked out well for us. It's the third leading cause of death in America because of that. And again, without knowledge, my people will perish. And so our job is to give them knowledge like we've done today. And it's just been a blessing to share that with folks. Yeah, I totally agree. So how can people get a hold of you? How do we get your expertise in their hands? Sure. You can go to ericnepute.com. That's ERICNEPUTE.com. Please take advantage. We're giving away 1 million bottles of D3, 1 million bottles of zinc, and 1 million subscriptions of my T90 program for health and wellness. All you have to do is go to freevitamindeal.com. That's freevitamindeal.com. My wife thought I was crazy when I said we're going to do that, but I don't have a choice. We have the ability, so therefore we have the responsibility, Scott. That's awesome. Thank you so much for being here. I look forward. We're going to have to do another show and have even more fun. This was a blast, and I appreciate you, and I love what you're doing, so thank you very much. Well, thanks. I appreciate what you're doing and look forward to doing a whole lot more things together. Thank you. I really appreciate everybody joining us here today on Scott Schilling Speaks. We're going to continue to bring you things that, quite frankly, you need to know. Things that I've had to search out myself. I get it. I was a 92-pound kid in first grade. No, I wasn't fed with a slingshot. Somehow I think I even had choice back then. The point is, we all have to take care of ourselves because we all have to lift each other up. We need each other. So please take care of yourself.
If you want more information on Dr. E and everything that he's doing, you can also text "What Now" to 72,000. That'll put you into the Scott Schilling Speaks system, and we'll make sure that you get more information on what's going on, keep you up to date on new breaking news and things like that. What Now to 72,000. Until next week, have a blessed week. God bless. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Connections are the lifeblood to grow your business, but current times have made quality connections hard to find, if not impossible. This is why Be Connected created the Connection Generator, a highly sophisticated, powerful search engine algorithm that will completely revolutionize the way you network and accelerate your results. Now you can experience the Connection Generator for free. Once set up, instantly the Connection Generator delivers the right people for your business using its proprietary artificial intelligence matchmaking technology. Think of it like dating software, but for the business world. We just changed the questions. Instant messaging, multiple ways to connect, and a 5-star user-generated rating system creates an experience that eliminates spam and wasted effort without ever leaving your home or office. During your free trial, you'll see the Connection Generator is super simple to use. In fact, people from all backgrounds and industries, from CEOs to entrepreneurs to work-at-home moms, use the Connection Generator to find their ultimate business connections. When you sign up for your free trial offer, you'll discover the Connection Generator scans industry, geographic location, and even target audiences to match you to the very best of the best, to include highly successful leaders just like you. So if you're ready to start leveraging technology, you're just a click away from activating your free trial and instantly connecting to exact matches just for you. Once you're a member, best of all, we can show you how to qualify for free continuing membership. It's our way of saying thanks for being a part of Be Connected. So what are you waiting for? Click now and get started today for free.